page of USA Today's Money section reads, car sales not as horrid in March. Love this. And some auto industry leaders believe sales picked up thanks to new incentives and government guarantees for car warranties. Here to break it all down for us is our watchdog on Wall Street, Mr. Chris Markowski. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Not as horrid as they were expected to be.
Oh, yay. It's like Yogi Berra. We got baseball season starting. He said that it's like deja vu all over again. It seems like we're constantly talking about this every 3 or 4 months, this whole auto thing.
So tell me what you think about this whole government intervention, especially in the last week. Are the government guarantees enough to keep the American auto industry afloat?
I don't think so. I think it's basically, well, that was a big concern that we talked about last November, that a lot of the advocates for the auto companies not to go into bankruptcy were saying. They're saying, who's going to buy a car from a company that's in bankruptcy? They're going to be worried about the warranties. Well, in actuality, most of these warranties are done by some third party elsewhere, and it doesn't even matter. I think Americans are going to go and they're going to look for the best deal possible if they feel comfortable in buying a car. The real determining factor whether someone's going to go buy a car is, did their car break down, is it gone, and can they afford it, and do they have good job security? These are the factors that are going to turn around the auto industry.
Okay, what about changing the quarterback midstream? You've got this whole new Fritz Henderson, but he's also talking about following the lead of the former CEO and possibly declaring bankruptcy.
It's part of the long tradition we have here in America of grabbing our torches and pitchforks and finding a boogeyman and let's blame it on Rick Wagner. I think that, some people think that this is softening the Americans towards moving these companies to bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy, and we've discussed this before here on the program, doesn't mean that they're going to stop rolling Cadillacs off next week. It's a reorganization. This is a company that right now is over $60 billion in debt. Now, they want more money from the government. You explain to me how you're going to get out of $60 billion plus in debt by selling $20,000 hybrids.
Okay, and speaking of, they're talking about trade-in discounts, $5,000 cash for clunkers.
Yeah, that's all well and good, but we, the taxpayers, are paying for the clunkers. Yeah, it's trying to get auto sales going, but once again, do you want to be buying someone's clunker?
Well, the Pay for Performance Act is raising a few eyebrows on Wall Street. Here to break it down for all of us on Main Street is our watchdog back on Wall Street, Chris Markowski. How you doing, buddy?
Very well.
Alrighty, so, the TARP and everything has gotten a lot of attention. The whole bonus bonanza got a lot of attention, but what's gotten a lot less attention is this latest bill being put forward in the House Services Committee by the chairman there, Barney Frank, which is the Pay for Performance Act. Tell us a little bit about this.
Does Barney Frank sound like Sylvester the Cat to you, or is it just me?
No, he does.
Suffering fucking
Well, tell us what this means, basically.
Basically, Barney Frank wants to have the power that any company that the government puts money into,
Any money into,
as far as whether TARP money, whatever it may be, he wants to be able to dictate all the salaries at that company. My question is he going to go ahead and do that also at the automakers and try to get in and break those union contracts? I would say no. I don't know how the House Services Committee is going to go about dictating the sales assistant salary at like Great Neck, Long Island for the Merrill Lynch office. I just don't see how that's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of bluster once again, and it's a lot of show. And when you invest in a company, like if you and I, we got preferred stock in, let's say, General Electric. We can't call up General Electric and say, well, I bought preferred stock in General Electric, and I should have to say how the salaries go. This is a serious overreach.
Yeah, and what is scary is that, the Treasury Secretary, if this law passes, currently Timothy Geithner, but let's say the law stands for however long, any Treasury Secretary can just deem something unreasonable. Whatever the Treasury Secretary deems as an unreasonable pay package, on down to the mail worker, as you said, anybody in any company. And couple that with the fact that they're trying to pass legislation where the government can take over any company even before they receive bailout money. That's scary, isn't it? Yeah,
I'm hoping. Like the AIG story that we talked about a couple weeks ago, things get floated up there for a lot of times political reasons, and they end up going by the wayside. And it's also, let's go as far to the extreme as we can, and then we get some sort of blowback back to the middle. Certainly hoping, and Wall Street's certainly hoping, and they're almost now betting on that a lot of these things are not going to come to fruition.
Okay.
Because once again, do we really want the government getting involved in running these companies? Do we really want to, be driving around in a 2012 Nancy Pelosi? I certainly don't. Nor do I want them handling my banking.
Right. And finally, what do you think about the fact that there's a lot of pressure now on Swiss bank accounts to open up their to the public? Because for centuries, almost, it's been that you could put your money in a Swiss bank account, and that was the tome of privacy. But now they're getting pressure to open those bank books up.
They're getting pressure, but once again, the Swiss is not even part of the European Union. they've got a very, very unique type of a situation there. And a lot of that money we send to African dictators and whatnot, unfortunately, instead of it going helping the people, it ends up in Swiss bank accounts. Hey, Yasser Arafat had over $1 billion in Swiss bank accounts. Did he have some falafel stand I didn't know about somewhere where he was able to make that type of money? I'd like to see them obviously crack down on some of this stuff because, you know, it's for dictators and drug dealers, that's where they do their banking.
Okay, so maybe a necessary thing.
We are joined by our watchdog on Wall Street, Mr. Chris Markowski. Chris, looking at that video, what are we trying to accomplish here at the G20 summit?
Bang our heads against the wall? I mean, did you see what that guy was doing?
Yeah, I did.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I suppose so. It takes all kinds. Yes. What do you think will be accomplished during this time?
Well, you know, I think basically, I think everything that was accomplished was done almost ahead of time in a lot of ways. And a lot of this is a big show. It's a lot of posturing for the people. You're going to see, you saw various different comments coming out of Russia, out of China, leading up to this, and a lot of this is for public consumption because Russia's in a very, very dire situation. The World Bank just came out last week saying that they have the possibility of actually collapsing, and they're obviously wanting to rally their troops saying, oh, we need to go to a different currency. So a lot of these things are decided ahead of time, and a lot of it's for photo ops and a lot of politics.
Well, it seems like France and Germany, those two leaders, are pointing the finger at America, saying it's pretty much our fault for this huge financial collapse. And now we've got this Pay for Performance Act that's going through the House, and it looks like the support's sort of divided on party lines. What is it, and what do you think will happen with it?
We're going down a very dangerous path here in this country when we start having the government dictate how much money people can make, or trying to getting involved in private businesses and deciding what's going to go on. That's a line we really do not want to cross here in this country. We're going to end up, we want to become like the European Union here with these quasi-government, private type companies is not the way to go. I mean, you know, we talk about our unemployment rate around 8% here. They're usually around 8% on a good day. You know, now they're up around 12 to 15%, and we could be heading in that direction if we continue down this path.
Okay, cover of USA Today, car sales not as horrid as expected. What do you take from this headline? Are we going to be recovering here in the auto industry, especially with the changes we've seen this week and the government incentives?
It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, and once again, it's not about, you can put all the incentives in the entire world. You can have 0% finance, you can have all these things, you have prices come down. If people don't feel comfortable in regards to their job security, they're not going to go out and buy cars. Once that confidence comes back to the market, we start seeing the jobs numbers start to turn, and the economic numbers, which they have been improving slowly but surely, then you're going to see the auto sales come back.
Okay, what about this change at GM with the new guy coming in and replacing Rick Wagner? Smart idea, not so smart idea?
I just don't think, once again, it's none of the business of the federal government to decide who should be running these various different companies. And if you're going to eliminate Rick Wagner, how come you didn't go after the head of the UAW as well? Because they're just as much as a problem. Nor look yourselves in the mirror. You know, the government played a big part in the demise of our automakers by forcing them to make cars that no one wants to buy, cafe standards and the like. There's a lot of blame to go around, and to try to say, oh, it's all Rick Wagner's fault, we'll blame it on him. That's just crazy.
He seems like he was the fall guy for the most part in a lot of this.
Absolutely. They always have to find somebody to blame everything on. And, you know, he had done a lot with the company. He made some mistakes as well. But this is a guy that, you know, most certainly made great strides all around the globe in regards to bringing GM's brand around the globe.
Chris?